Welcome everyone to the CFO Swinger Watch Report technical analysis video for the trading week of June 30th through July 3rd. Now, the following research in each and every single weekly report is a chance at applying your own learn and earn trading system. On top of that, the combination of the weekly report and this technical analysis video will give you a complete top-down analysis on the overall markets and individual trade ideas. Overall, every report will be giving you full guidance in the upcoming trading week, allowing you to cut down on the extensive research time that is usually needed to achieve a very successful trading week. So make sure to join us if that is something that truly aligns to your trading goals. Take a look down below to start that trading journey with us. With that, let's get into the markets. So the S&P 500 has officially made a new all-time high price print. Now, if you guys were focusing on NASDAQ, you guys should know that NASDAQ was leading this trend to the upside, and NASDAQ was the first one to create that new all-time high price print, and obviously the S&P 500 closely followed behind. Now, with this new official all-time high price print, we have officiated this V-shaped recovery, right? Now, there's a lot of doubts since May, well, actually ever since we bounced in early April, that we wouldn't be getting this V-shaped recovery, but lucky us, right? We were focusing on a V-shaped recovery and we're able to position ourselves very, very well in the month of April. Now, if you take a look at this weekly time frame, right, this bigger picture time frame, we do have a very significant gap up area as seen here. And as I've said, in the week of this week here, maybe even back here, I was telling you guys that we shouldn't be expecting to see a gap being filled here, right? This gap being filled. But if you were to fill this gap, that means that sellers were most likely still very much present, and there could be a move back lower. However, we did not do that, right? And instead, we actually played out the ideal conditions that I wanted to see, where we formed a very nice high and tight Momo bull flag, and we had a very nice subsequent breakout out of this Momo bull flag as well, and we just continued to move up higher and higher and higher. Now, for me personally, last week I would have loved to see the price coming back down to at least, retest 590 or even 585 on some news, right? Since last week was a very news heavy week, especially last Friday. And if you were to retest 585, we would have coincided with this weekly 10 SMA as well, this red line, and that would have given us a lot more support to pivot back up higher and allow more the short and long-term buyers to come back in together simultaneously, giving us a greater pivot back to the upside. But alas, we never get our own ideal scenarios all the time, right? Instead, we actually stayed very, very strong, even with some negative news coming in regarding, the trade talks, which I've talked extensively about in the actual report. So please make sure to go back to the report before you watch this technical analysis video. And the markets were so resilient, and we just continued to push up higher, and ultimately, we have officially continue to stay over that $600 psychological whole number level. So what's next, right? What's next? Well, first of all, people have been already talking about, we're going to be seeing a double top, and we're going to be seeing another, 5, 10, 15% correction from these new all-time highs. Now, a 15% correction, right? That's a huge move down, right? That's basically going to be revisiting April's price action, right? And I don't know what would cause this unless World War III were to break out, right, and the US was heavily involved, like in the Middle East. And again, I talked a lot about this in the actual report about the Middle East conflicts and etc. So please make sure to read the report. And so, to me, that just seems very unrealistic. Maybe a -5 to -10% correction is in the works due to seasonal trend patterns, which I also talk about in the report. So, that's the only reason that I could find for a textbook correction, because again, a textbook correction ranges from a percentage of 5 to 10% from the relative highs that you're looking at. So, even with the negative 5% move lower from the current all-time highs, right? That's just a revisit back to 585, right? And to me, that would just be a very, very textbook, a very shallow pullback, and it will provide a lot more long-term entry opportunities for all the people who have been sidelined, or people who are getting a lot of FOMO from this new all-time high price print, right? So for me, that's not very plausible. I just expect to see a continued melt up accompanied by volume. Even last week we had an increase in weekly volume. It was over the average weekly volume as well. And for this short trading week, we should be at least moving back over 620, and ultimately, all right, so now this is a very subjective, speculative target. I expect the S&P 500 ETF to be sitting around 630 to 635 before we form a major market top for that potential corrective move down, or at least a shallow move lower. Okay, and again, personally, if you were to have that shallow textbook pullback or correction, I would expect a maximum of -5% from the relative highs, or from where I'm looking at, or ideally, -3 to -5% will be the ideal range where I want to see the price correcting back down. Okay, so very, very simple outlook for the markets. And again, it should be simple because we are in new territory. All right, so do not make it complicated here. Let's take a look at the first and last official swing trade idea for this week, for this week's report, and that is Uber. All right, so Uber, we have already been in this ticker for a position trade, and we got this position last month, right? So if you guys remember, if you guys go back to the private CFO Discord chat room, you guys should know that we were in this name during this initial pullback here in mid to late May, and we continued to add. Right, I believe I got a position starting around here, okay, and I've added a lot, right? And thanks to those ads, right, we are up a lot, right? We're up over triple digits here, and we continue to hold that triple digit return, and triple digit percentage return specifically, right? And so far, things are looking very, very good. And even this price path structure that I made in late April, and I've also explained again in early May, has actually done quite well in recent times as well. And in fact, we have actually used a very significant level of support at $82 here, and kind of made this double bottom here, right? And I kind of was able to describe this with this price path structure. And again, not lying to you guys, but I have not moved or edited this price path structure ever since I made it in late April. And so I'm very glad that I've been able to see this price path kind of being followed to a T in recent times, and allowing, and obviously the price was able to pivot from this $82 support level, an actual technical level, rather than this price path structure, and pivot away from it very, very strongly. Now, what am I looking at here, right, for this week? Because again, we are still long this name, and obviously I'm doing this for the sake of the people who aren't in this ticker with us still, but we have been essentially for all of last week, after last Tuesday's immense breakout to the upside, we have been making a very nice Momo bull flag, and that's exactly what we want to see when we have such a great volume backed, right, breakout to the upside that also was sustained for most of that day. All right, because again, the closing price for this candlestick was at 91.65 and the high of the day was at 92.48. So definitely a lot of bulls still left on this trading day during that breakout. And obviously the following days we have sustained the strong bullish bids because we continued to make higher highs and higher lows, and ultimately last Thursday we made an all-time high price print sitting at $94.38. And so excuse me guys, and so what you want to see here is basically the price trying to stay over this new 90s area, and that's exactly what we saw last Friday, right? Because the low of the day last Friday was at $89.97, so literally 3 cents away from $90 before it pivoted back to the upside. And so that's exactly what we want to see moving forward, where we continue to stick above and stay above this $90 level. All right, and as long as that occurs, the daily 10 SMA, which has officially crossed over the daily 21 SMA, giving us a nice short-term bullish crossover indication on the short-term SMAs, should catch up to the price to provide a lot more support, stronger short-term support to the upside. And that's exactly what we want to see. And I also love the fact that all of my major SMAs, the daily 10, 21, 50, and 200 are all starting to curl up higher, right? Now, excuse me guys, let me drink some water here. And so, I really just want to see the price catapulting away, especially from my longer term SMAs. I mean, even the daily 50, right, is still sitting very, very close to the price, which again, that doesn't really matter to me. That is providing a lot of good long-term support and long-term buying coming in whenever we do retest it, just like what we saw before we had this breakout to the upside last Tuesday. But with such a massive gap and go moment here, where we really literally just moved away from this gap up area, I really want the price to continue this trend of trying to move away from the longer term SMAs on the daily time frame, like the daily 50 SMA, and most importantly the daily 200 SMA. All right, now if you take a look at the MACD, right, this very, very nice popular technical indicator. Again, all technical indicators are lagging, but this one is very interesting to see because when we had this nice breakout, we had a very nice crossover, a bullish indication on the MACD here, and this should provide more confidence for all the technical traders out there who use the MACD to provide more confidence in continuously staying long on this name, or maybe even adding more to their current principal long positions on Uber. Okay, now if I take out the MACD and look at the RSI, which is what I personally like to use, well, the RSI is still not in overbought conditions. And you might be wondering, well, Andrew, why would you even want overbought conditions? Like, what are you saying here, right? Well, first of all, overbought conditions does not mean that we'll be seeing an immediate rejection or pullback from all-time highs, since we are very close to all-time highs or relative highs, and that short sellers will immediately come in if we were in overbought conditions. Again, a value of 70 or above is what we consider overbought conditions on the RSI. And so when we usually see values of 70 and above on the RSI, that just simply states that the buyers are very, very strong, and buyers are showing a very strong presence in the bid and ask, right? And we're seeing a continued bid for the price to continue to go up higher compared to the amount of sellers that are present, right? And so even if you take a look on the weekly time frame here, guys, there's a lot of room left, right, to continue to move up higher. And again, a new all-time high price print is not bearish, right? I see a lot of people trying to be contrarian when we have such a strong uptrend to the upside, especially a new all-time high price print, and people get immediately bearish. I don't know why that is, but it's just human behavior at this point, where we tend to want to be contrarian during a new all-time high price print and a new all-time high, right? A new higher high pivot point. And so the RSI on the weekly time frame is just sitting at 63.15, right? We are still relatively very tepid here on the RSI, is what I was saying, based on last week's underlying price action breakout to the upside. All right. So again, make sure to go over the complete top-down analysis in the report for this ticker, along with the complete 3-point game plan and the full option contracts that I want you guys to use to execute on this trade, on this ticker, if you guys are not in this name with us yet. All right. And last but not least, I want to go over a very hyped up ticker that is in this week's MM list, or the Momentum Mentions list. And that is BBAI, BigBear.ai. So, as you guys know, we were, and some of our members, actually a lot of our members in the CFO Discord chat room have been very active on this name, and we were able to actually capture a significant part of this move. And well, the reason being is that we were able to set an alert at this $4.50 resistance level here that we broke out of immensely, right, and impulsively last week. And again, this is just showing you the importance of setting up alerts on ideas and just overall tickers that have great A plus chart setups, right? Now, considering BBAI, okay, we knew this $4.50 level was very significant because, surprise, surprise, BBAI was a ticker that we were looking at back in October of last year. So if you guys go back to the CFO Trade Ideas channel in the private CFO Discord chat room, you guys will see that I was looking at BBAI, and particularly thanks to a member of ours here for showing me what BBAI was. And I was able to do a very nice technical analysis back in October, and I was basically saying in that analysis that we should be expecting a very nice breakout over this $2 whole number level, or if you want to be specific, $1.95 level here. And we got that breakout, right? And we just continued to have a very good short squeeze like run. And ultimately we did have a short squeeze run, as seen on this weekly candlestick here on the week of February 3rd, right? But we just continued to move up higher after this breakout over $2, and we continued to absorb the supply overhead, and ultimately, obviously, we had this very nice breakout to the upside. Now, BBAI as a company, you guys can do your research on it. Personally, for me, BBAI is very overvalued here from a DCF model, and that's being very generous there from the DCF model that I'm looking at for BBAI. It's more of a bull case scenario for that DCF model, and we're still yet very overvalued, right? But again, you guys can Google what this company does. People are saying this could be the next Palantir, right? PLTR. But again, BBAI is still very much a struggling small company. So you guys can do your research on that. But again, I've broken it down in the report itself, so please make sure to read the report. But let's go ahead and take a look at what it says here, right? So this one had already broken out from last week, and some of us have been able to take advantage of this. In fact, we should be focusing on this ticker for a continuation momentum swing trade, because this one has massive momentum behind it once again. Last week, it had the largest weekly volume candlestick since its IPO, as the average weekly volume continues to climb up as well, shown by this big arrow here. And if you take a look down below, the weekly MACD has just curled higher. And again, let me just bring out the MACD again, right? If I'm able to do that correctly, right? Okay, and it's just basically giving us a very nice bullish crossover signal here, an indication, right? And this breakout is most definitely not done yet unless shorts come back strong. But it would be pretty hard for them to do that since last week buyers have absorbed quite a lot of supply over that multi-year $4.50 resistance level. Okay, and obviously that is a typo. Right? Okay, so this video is very real here, guys. So, BBAI definitely has a lot of room left, right? And that's exactly the reason why I gave you guys a long entry point over $6.10, which will be over the previous week's high. And again, what was the high of last week? $5.98. Now, if you guys want to be, a bit more, earlier and a little bit riskier, I say, but I would say that an entry point over $6.05 will be okay too, right? So immediately after we break over $6, then you guys can try to get a early but riskier entry point. But based on the entry point, right, and based on everything that I've said so far for BBAI, we should be looking at this, and you should be looking at this from a technical perspective only. Okay? Fundamentally, it just doesn't make sense that BBAI should be at these levels, which is the reason why, because of the fact that we are already at these levels, right, at these very, very extended and overvalued price ranges, it clearly tells you that it's not the fundamentals that are driving the stock, but the overall sentiment, the overall retail hype, and the overall just technical perspectives that is driving this price up high. And again, that's exactly why we were looking at it last week as well, because from a technical angle, it just looked absolutely perfect with the overall tightening that we saw between 385 and 450, and obviously the curling up higher of my major weekly moving averages here, like the weekly 10 and the weekly 21 SMA, right? And again, as seen here, for the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, right? Not including last week though, right? We saw the price consolidating very, very tightly in between my weekly 10 and weekly 21 SMAs. And usually that precedes, okay, a very, very large breakout. And obviously that's exactly what we got last week. So again, it was very much a technical perspective breakout compared to an overall fundamental perspective breakout. All right, so please make sure to remember that. All right, so if you guys want to see the overall target that I'm expecting for BBAI, please make sure to read the actual report, especially on the list section, since that is where BBAI is residing in the report. And obviously, if you guys want to know which option contract you guys should be playing on this ticker, make sure you guys read the report on BBAI. All right, so that is it for this video. If this technical analysis video was very insightful and most importantly applicable, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you're new here and you aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. But also, if you're watching this video when it just became public and you would like to watch this video when it's private, the only thing that you need to do is become one of the many readers of the CFO Swinger Watch Report, which will automatically give you access, full access to the private CFO Discord community, where you can expedite and further your learning in trading. All right, good luck, and I'll see you all tomorrow morning.